Drew, just see if you can get Dom on the show. I tried calling, but he didn't hit me back.
We're live. Yeah. Welcome to the We Play Baseball Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Wednesday. We got a great show in line for you, in store for you, coming up here shortly. So let me turn my music down so we can get this thing rolling today. How's everybody doing? Hope all is well with everyone. We ran into some technical difficulties with one of our programs, so I won't be flipping screens back and forth today. However, we are live. And we're good to go. You just have to look at us the whole time. So that's the bottom line. So we'll go ahead into the introduction of the We Play Baseball Podcast. We are the We Play Baseball Podcast, and this whole program is about bringing information and providing parents, players, coaches, everyone with information that at the end of the day can make you a better ball player, give you better opportunities, or make you aware of what's going on out in the world. So that's kind of a layout of what we do. So we'll go ahead and we'll move into introduction of the panel. We got a great group of guys that have been here from the beginning of this and are still working with us and keeping it going. So I'll let them introduce yourself. Andrew, kick it off for us, please.
Andrew Tucson, currently the West Coast supervisor with the New York Mets. Went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for a couple years. Transferred to Southern University a couple years, where I got drafted by the Angels and played 5 seasons in the minor leagues with them. Then played parts of 2 years in Japan with the SoftBank Hawks in Fukuoka. During that time, I was also working at the Youth Academy in Compton, and been scouting ever since.
Sweet. Carl?
All right. Carl Nichols. I guess currently you'll say I'm a roving instructor. I work with kids all over the country. Played 18 years professionally. A couple of years in the big leagues with Baltimore Orioles and the Houston Astros. Been coaching regularly since about 1999. So, formerly worked at the Urban Youth Academy in Compton with Andrew Toussaint and a few other quality coaches. And so now I'm just doing a little bit of travel ball, a little bit of instructing, and working my way into being a reality star.
Yeah, this is reality TV. I keep telling you. You see, I'm dressed the part today. See, dressed for success, baby. Dressed for success. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rod White. I serve as your host for the show and helping bring together this great panel of individuals that have now come together to bring you this information. I'm working on my cell phone back and forth, guys. So y'all just bear with me, trying to make sure everything was up and running. What we can do on the back end since the OBS system has gone down unexpectedly. But my background, I serve as the associate head coach at Texas College. Prior to that, I spent few years in scouting as an associate in the Red Sox and the Phillies organizations. Prior to that, I was an assistant coach at Alabama State University, so I have some D1 experience all the way down. I also, I'm from a small town, came in from Louisville, Alabama, by way of Clio, Alabama. It's like 6 miles from each other, guys. So my house sat in the middle. My grandmother lived in Clio, and okay, let me know. Jeff said he's going to do the call. He couldn't get in on the thing, so that's fine. And Louisville was right up the street, so I graduated from Louisville High School. Ended up at Bama State, played there. Ended up in Indy ball for several years, then moved into actual general management there. had the opportunity to coach with guys like Omar Moreno, Ivan Morrell, Frank Evans, all these guys that help kind of mold me to where we are today. So without further ado, I'm gonna let you guys. Carl, you got a joke for us today? You got a story? I'm gonna have to stop and figure this out real quick. What's going on?
Story. What story do I have? What story did I tell last time? I'll tell you the story about when I got demoted back to rookie ball. I was from the Florida State League.
Okay.
I was playing in Miami, and we had just where we were in Tampa, St. Petersburg. It just was 8 hour, 6 hour ride, however long that is from Miami. Got to the hotel. Manager tells me I'm going back to rookie ball. So me and another guy, Lee Martinez from Venezuela, spoke no English. So fly back to Miami. And in Miami, we stayed at me and a few other guys, we stayed at a hotel that was on the campus of Biscayne College, which is now St. Thomas University. What we didn't know, what I found out when I got back to the hotel, was they put a deadbolt on our rooms while we were gone, which I got back in the middle of the night. So I couldn't get into my room to pack my stuff. So I ended up, one of my teammates gave me the keys to his car to get around and to get from the ballpark back to the hotel. So I ended up sleeping in the car that night when I got back to the hotel. Next morning, go in, get my stuff, get to the airport, and me and Louis were flying to Bluefield, West Virginia. And if you haven't heard of it, don't worry about it because you're not missing anything. But we stopped in Greensboro. And get to Greensboro, we missed our flight.
Wow.
And it's about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. Still pretty early. I'm from LA, big city of LA, so 18 years old.
Right.
So I wasn't used to the city shutting down at 6 o'clock. But so we were at the airport, missed the flight, nothing else is going on the rest of the night. And, I'm 18, I got no credit cards, I know nothing about it. Just going to get in the room and all that stuff. So me and Louis ended up sleeping in the airport. And at that time, I had a big boom box that I carried with me. Of course, everybody had one back then. You guys don't know what a boom box is. It's a radio. And it had a big strap on it. So we go in the waiting area, and we're sitting down and, trying our best to sleep. And it's just me and Louis in the airport. And the guy comes running in, out of breath, and runs up to me and says, "Is the guy following me trying to kill me?" And then he takes off running. Right? So now, yeah, exactly. That was my response.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to come up with a strategy. I'm either going to fight or I'm going to take off running.
Right.
Louis is next to me, a couple of seats over. He's dozing off. He has no clue what's going on because he doesn't speak English. So I'm like, do I leave this dude here to fend for himself? Do I fight? Does this guy have a gun? I don't know what's going on.
Right.
So my heart's racing. I'm sitting there. I'm looking around. Nobody ever shows up. The guy that came in there, he disappeared. He went in the bathroom, and I never saw him come out. And nothing ever happened. So But I'm up all night waiting for somebody to show up while Louis over there snoring. And but yeah. So anyway, spend the night in the airport. Nothing happened. Catch our flight in the morning, and we end up making our way to Bluefield, West Virginia. But 18 years old, you're sitting. Somebody runs in saying they're trying to kill him. Which is crazy because I'm from Compton, the home of the drive-bys. But
right,
if I'd have heard guns go off, I would have known what to do. But strange town, and some dude said somebody's trying to kill him.
Right. I completely get you. Man, you do have some crazy stories, some wild stories out here, man.
Well, those are the ones that I can actually tell.
I know, right? The PG rated version, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
exactly.
I understand. All right, Andrew, what's up, man? And I see you sitting back there taking notes and stuff, and kind of trying to get ready to, knock down Carl and asking him, man, how did you end up in a room where somebody else comes to the room saying, I mean, I'm confused. Why did the guy come to the room? It was just in the random room?
Who, me?
No, the person that was running saying somebody's trying to kill him. They just chose a random room?
We're at the airport, so
you were at the airport, okay.
Gates.
Okay, all right. I missed that part.
Yeah, I was at the gate.
Gotcha.
I remember we're in Greensboro, it's a small airport.
Yeah.
So I just think because he saw me, he just ran
over to you.
He just ran in there.
I got you.
Yeah. So he was, I don't know if he was high or what was going on, but there were no maintenance people, nobody cleaning up. There was nobody there. It was just us two.
Right.
Which I thought was weird for an airport, but
right.
Small town America. So
a lot of those small airports, when you getting called up or getting moved around, demoted, whatever, man.
Yeah.
There's no direct flight. Anyway.
Right.
Yeah, and we were flying Piedmont Airlines. I don't know if you guys heard of that airline. But
I'm sure they didn't crash and burn by now.
Right.
that thing would probably been done with.
And then I'm sure you flew on a couple of flights that was a Knuckleball Express.
No.
You never flew one of those?
Knuckleball Express.
Like playing in the PCL, so you fly into Tucson, Phoenix, Colorado Springs, where the air's light.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're trying to land. So, like, when I was in PCL, whenever we were flying, if there were no clouds in the sky, it was going to be a bumpy ride. Because it was windy, especially in Colorado Springs.
Wow.
And it was, and I can remember in Tucson one year, when my daughter was born, I stayed back from a road trip. And the guys were telling me that when they got on the plane to leave, they were heading down the runway, and one of their tires blew out. Right before they got ready to take off, they had to go back and.
Yeah, I was flying out of Detroit one time, coming back to Montgomery, and this was business related then. But I got on. I was actually this particular day got me I guess you call it the advanced seating. What they call it? First class. Yeah, they got me a first class ticket, so I'm sitting like literally behind the cockpit and whatnot, and we're sitting there for a while. So they've brought out a cocktail, they've done all this stuff, right? And 45 minutes has gone by. So something now is I'm starting to question, like, okay, something's going on. The stewardess keeps going back and forth, but she keeps going to the cockpit, keeps coming back out, and then the pilot gets on and says, "Hey, we have a delay." We have a mechanical issue. I was the first person. Hey, can I can go ahead and onboard? Y'all don't have to pay me anything. You don't have to do anything. I'll onboard right now. Mechanical issue, and it turned out to be the navigational system. So I made sure I got off the plane.
Yeah,
that's
crazy. Then,
yeah, I'm waiting on. He said he was calling in. I think he may have gotten mixed up here. But go ahead.
Yeah, and traveling in the minor leagues is, people talk about the bus rides, but in a lot of cases, traveling in AAA can be harder.
Right.
Because you fly everywhere, for the most part, but you have to fly commercial, which means you got to take the first flight out every time you travel.
Right.
And I remember we were going from Columbus back to Rochester, New York. Okay. 6 a.m. flight, right?
Right.
Boarded the plane. That flight did not leave till like 5 o'clock. And we were on the plane the whole time. They kept trying to say in the air something was wrong.
There you go.
We're sitting on the plane we literally sat on that plane for 8 hours with no air conditioning.
Jeez.
Wow.
We got to Rochester. It's the end. Okay. I'll save that story for later.
You save it for later. Coach, we're breaking it out. How you doing, sir?
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Let
me go ahead and give you an introduction. Carl, we have Carl Nichols and Andrew Toussaint on the line. Carl was telling the story. We had some mechanical issues on our end too today. So let me just go ahead and give you your due rewards on coming on here. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have the distinct pleasure of sitting down talking with one of the best coaches in the game. He just completed his 22nd season at the helm of the Chipola baseball program in 2019. He won back-to-back national titles in 2017 and 2018. And that gave him a total of 3, winning also in 2007. The Indians have won 7 conference titles in the past 9 years. He built Chipola into the premier JUCO program in the country. Under his leadership, the Indians have won the extremely competitive Panhandle Conference 13 times and received state tournament berths as conference runner-up 6 times. Coach has compiled an outstanding record of 866 wins, 396 losses, 2 ties, gives him a 686 percentage on wins and losses, buddy. That's pretty daggum good. In 2017, we already mentioned he was actually given, and 18, he got the Coach of the Year. 225 plus former players to go to 4-year institutions or professional baseball. 95 plus players drafted out of the Chipola program. 11 NJCAA. Coach, I mean, I don't know what else to say about you. You got 4 MLB All-Stars, 18 MLB players. You are the man. Let me start it that way. How about that?
Thanks, my man. You need to slow down a little bit.
I got you.
Maybe speed up to the right people. How about that?
I know, right?
Amen, brother.
Amen. So tell us this, Coach. You know, how are you handling? How are you doing here in this pandemic? I know it has everybody kind of confined, and it's kind of different right now. You're normally on the field, and you're stuck, you know, at home, basically trying to stay safe. How is that affecting you?
Well, it's been crazy, man. It's just like everybody, uncharted waters here, and I'm 54 years old, so I think this is the first time in 40 years that I had spring baseball going on, and it's been something that's taken a lot of getting used to. The new normal, I guess, what we say right now. But it's trying to stay at home. We send all our kids home. When they can't start, so right before they can't start season, we had spring break coming up, so we sent them home for a little bit during that time, and then we found out at that time that the season was going to be canceled. So, just trying to do our due diligence, just like everyone else, to stay safe and keep people safe, and hopefully this thing passes as soon as possible.
Right. So, Coach, as I told you before when I asked you to come on the show, this what we do with this podcast is basically we're trying to give people information. I believe a lot of times the more information you have, the better off you can be, and especially when we're dealing with high schoolers, even some of the younger kids and their parents are listening to the show. Here's our first question for you. Chipola's a D1 JUCO, all right, and there's D1 through D3. Can you take a minute and explain that so that parents and players understand really what that means and what it means to them?
I lost you for a second. Did you say explain what a Division I JUCO is?
Well, you have Division I through Division III. Tell us what's the difference between the 3 programs, D1, D2, D3 at the JUCO level.
Okay, Division I junior college can offer whatever your school allows you to offer as far as scholarships. So you can offer books, tuition fees, room, and board at a Division I junior college. At a Division II junior college, they're only able to offer books, tuition, and fees. So the players would have to pay, parents have to pay for their room and the board. And at the Division III junior college, there's no athletic scholarship involved. That comes mostly through financial aid or academic monies.
Gotcha. So that gives them a good information so they know exactly what they're dealing with. So change of subject slightly here. We talk about development and player development, and here's a question that I was asked to ask by a member of the audience. Travel ball. What's your take on it? The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. What's your take on travel ball in general?
Well, I think travel ball has been very beneficial to us, especially for the college guys of being able to see a group of players, a large group of players in one environment. And, I think it's changed our game a little bit. I've been at 24 years at the collegiate level, and, the first few years, we still had some of the Legion ball going on back in the days and all that. On the weekends, we got out and saw some of the preliminary starting of your perfect game stuff, and there were other different organizations going along at that time. You didn't have many teams. Most of the teams back then, you were probably had about 16 really good travel teams at that point, and now it's just mushroomed to so many now. And I think it's watered it down to a certain degree. Yeah. Back in my days, we played Legion ball, and when you played Legion ball back in our days, all the better players. I played at Quincy Post 84, and we probably took a 100-mile radius, probably more of a 50 to 60-mile radius, and we had the best players in that area. We played against the best players in Tallahassee and Panama City and Dothan and Gainesville and all that. And now I think there's more opportunity for more players and more to get seen. I do think it's been again watered down a little bit with the amount of people that are playing. I wish we could get our better players playing against our better players a little more often. I think competition makes people get better, and so that's kind of it. It does do a great job with us as far as getting to see a lot of different people in one environment, one town on a certain week or weekend environment as well, though.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Here's another question for you. And this is dealing with talking about the JUCO, the fall season, Coach. You get a lot of games to play in the fall. Your program being as world renowned as it is, and you get a lot of top, what I consider drafted or high level D1 talent, which means you get some pretty good ready-made guys that need polishing up. But this is the question I have. You had a kid came in by the name of Drew Baker. He's right here out of Montgomery, Alabama, out of Macon East. When I last saw him, he was sitting 90 to 91. And when he left you to go to Auburn, he's sitting 96 to 97. Okay? In the fall for you, is the focus on development versus evaluation, vice versa, or really a combination of the two?
Well, I think it's a combination of the two. You've got to see strengths and weaknesses. And then as you look at those strengths and weaknesses, try to figure out, putting a plan together, how to get the developmental piece put together.
Right.
Drew Baker was a guy who had an extremely quick arm. Right. I signed offered Drew out of one of my showcases down here at Chipotle. He came as a catcher.
Right.
And I saw the arm work. And I said, "You pitched in?" He said, "A little bit." I said, "Well, come here and throw a bullpen for me." And he came around through our pitching part of it in the bullpen. And I said, "Man, your bat's a little light." I said, "But if you'll come in here and pitch, I'll take you as a pitcher." And that's what happened. And it took some time. I mean, he's really young as a pitcher, and hadn't had a lot of innings. But boy, did he really, really grow and develop as the year went along. And we get down to our state tournament. And, he's running up there to 97 mile an hour at time with a good break and on a change up. And he was very comfortable in his skin and all the things you want somebody to be. He was the most confident guy on the field at that time. So, I think the developmental piece here, and you talked about the fall baseball part of it as well. I think the fall baseball, we get play 20 games against outside competition in the fall. Right. Back in my days, back in the late 80s, or I guess it's in the mid to late 80s, I should just say, we got to play against the Division I teams in the fall. Right. And, we beat those guys about as much as they beat us, and I played at Gulf Coast Community College my first 2 years before I went to University of Central Florida and finished up. But, I think our fall development and, being able to play those outside competition games gives us a lot of great exposure for the pro scouts and the Division I scouts. And then, not only that, the inter squads you're able to do and get these guys some more live at bats and live pitcher versus batter stuff.
Right. I got you.
Okay.
My next, and I'm gonna let these guys chime in a minute. I just had a series of things that I knew we wanted to try to cover with you being on here, getting your take on it, and see what your thoughts were for it. So the next question that we have was regarding the recruiting. Okay, so let's talk about a normal recruiting year without you giving away all your major secrets. What would you tell a player and parent they need to be doing 7th, 8th grade, 9th, 10th grade? What year do you really start looking at kids?
You know, for me, the junior college realm, I've had a hard time doing what these Division I guys are doing. I'm a dinosaur, I guess, so to speak. And we've gotten started a little earlier with it as well. But, I just don't know that you know what a person's going to be and a player's going to be when they're a 9th grader, an 8th grader, a 10th grader, when a lot of these Division Is are committing these guys. And then how committed are the programs to the kid if they're not playing very well their senior year? That's another thing. You see that happen a lot, too. So we normally start looking at juniors, kids going into junior year in the summer, and then really, those kids that are going to be juniors going into their senior year there in the summers when we really start trying to target our guys. We understand where we are. We understand that a lot of the kids want to go to Division I. Most kids want to go to Division I. We're going to get guys in our program that didn't qualify. Number one, guys that want to stay out for the draft. Number two, or kickbacks for the Division I where they didn't get to play and they want to get back in the draft. So that's kind of the three different groups we try to target in recruiting. But no, I don't start quite as early as the Division Is do. I think that's just a thing now that got started back in the Jim Toman days when he was in South Carolina, Turtle Thomas days, LSU. Some of those guys really got going a little bit earlier. Now they were recruiting 10th and 11th graders. Now they've started. These new guys are getting into the 8th and 9th grade commitment stuff, which is kind of unheard of to me.
Right. I saw an 8th grader. I saw an 8th grader the other day and he's a great ball player. I know he committed to Auburn, but he's committing early. He's an 8th grader. That's all I can say.
Well, there's a lot of things that can happen. And I can tell you who the best 8th grade player is, and a lot of times the best 8th grade player is the best player when he's a senior in high school.
That's right.
And again, I wish what they would do in this situation if a school was going to ask a kid to commit. You look through these classes of how many are committed. They got 20 committed in each class, and all the way down to about the 9th and 10th grade level. And somebody would get dropped by the wayside somewhere along the way. And I wish they would put something on there. If you commit, you have to have something signed where you have to honor that commitment. And then I think we'd see a lot less of it if it was that.
I totally agree on that. You are right about that. My last question, coming up on this year, Coach. As a matter of fact, I have two questions. It's 2 in 1. You guys in the fall, you played at Faulkner, you played at certain different places. You mentioned you get 20 games. When you guys, what were you looking at? What were your expectation this year going into the season prior to the pandemic happening? What did it look like? What was your expectations out of this year?
Well, I think you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be honest with your players. Number one, and if you've ever won a national championship, we've been fortunate to win 3 now. It's sad to say this. A lot of times you get your expectations so high, if you don't win another national championship, you've had a bad year, which is not true.
Right.
And what I told our guys, and what I tell them every year, let's be the best that this team can possibly be. You're not the 2017. You're not the 2017 or 2018 team. You're the 2020 team. And my job as a coach is to get the best out of you and develop you to your God-given ability level. And whatever that is, that's how good we're going to be. And there's a lot of variables that go into that. I mean, you get variables of how dedicated kids are, the work ethic, the mental toughness, the will to win, the camaraderie, and then you get into the bad things of guys not being here for the right reasons in the party world, and just here to kind of say they're here. So I think for us, this team was growing. We started off pretty good, started off pretty well. We had a little hard time in the middle of the season because we play an extremely tough schedule. It's probably the toughest schedule I ever played, in the junior college level. I mean, we play, most of the teams are in Grand Junction that we play early in the non-conference part of our season. So, we had our tough times. We try to get our team exposed because I think you got to be exposed to understand what your weaknesses are, and your guys understand what they've got to do and correct to be able to play the game at the highest level at the highest time.
Yeah, that's correct. Next year, hopefully when this pandemic is over with, what's the you got the incoming freshmen that you'll have coming in. You got your returning seniors that get the extra year, and some that will stay, some that won't stay, some that will go in the draft, some that thought they were going in the draft now can't go in the draft. In your mind, what does next year look like across the board? Not necessarily for you, but across the board for junior colleges in general.
It's a crazy time for all of us, and I think what's happened to us, and we got our sophomores didn't lose their year, right. So they're still going to be considered sophomores. Right. Our freshmen are still going to be considered freshmen. We've got a class of high school seniors who we've signed, right. Who are going to come in as freshmen as well. So you have a big freshman class, right. And you also could have some sophomores who are coming back. So you probably not have a ton of eligibility-wise sophomores. Right. So, this whole thing with the draft, how many rounds is it going to go? Is it going to go 5 rounds or 10 rounds? How many players is that going to throw into the junior college level? Right. How many of the Division I guys, when they got 20 kids sign their freshman class and a bunch of their seniors come back and they're reducing their age, how many of those guys are going to bounce back to junior college and want to get back to where they can play immediately? So there's a lot of variables for all of us. I don't think any of us know the answer. I do think it's going to make baseball better. College baseball, junior college baseball, Division I, Division II, NAI. I think it's make the game of baseball better, yeah. Because there'll be more good players out there. There's going to have to be some tough conversations with some people too as well. I mean, it's going to, because there's going to be an abundance of players. The one that's going to probably hurt the worst are the incoming high school seniors this year, yeah. That were borderline players possibly that could have, probably gone somewhere, because I think it's going to matriculate down to the lower level, junior colleges, lower mid-level Division I's and the NAI and Division II programs. So, right. I think we're like I said earlier, in uncharted waters. I think for the most part, if they reduce the draft, it's going to make college baseball much better at all levels.
I got you. Guys, I got all mine in. Your turn. Anything you want to piggyback on with, Coach?
No, I'm good, man.
I'm asking the crew, the team over here.
Yeah, I got a question.
Let's go on.
I see that you got a lot of guys that went on to the next level, all the way up to the big leagues, probably more than the average school. So my question is, how, in your opinion, when does a player or kid need to go to junior college versus going to a 4-year school right away?
Well, I just think every player and parent needs to be honest with themselves, and I think that's where most of it happens. I think a lot of times players go to the Division I because that's the bright lights and the glitter and all that, and going to junior college is the sexy thing to do sometimes with your buddies and with Twitter and Facebook and all that things where you announce, I'm going to a certain school where you might not going to be able to play for a couple of years. And most kids that sign at Division I, probably 95% of them don't get to play much as a freshman. And that does a lot of things to me mentally to a lot of kids. And we see them a lot of times when they bounce back to us. And a lot of it's just the confidence part of it. They've lost their confidence. They don't believe they're very good anymore. So I just think be honest with yourself. Understand what's important to you. Okay, the academic piece, the playing time piece, the developmental piece, all those different things. You've got to be honest and prioritize that and decide, okay, is the baseball end of it getting to play? Because if we get to play, we're probably going to get better versus we don't get to play. Yeah. And is that the important piece, or is it the piece I want to be in a college town, college environment at the Division I level? And I think that's where it is.
My next question. So, is Chipotle College?
Chipotle.
What's the name of the school?
Chipotle.
Okay, I'm from California, so I don't know a lot of the schools out back east. My question is, how does a school, and it sounds like it's a small town, how are you able to recruit such quality players consistently?
Well, that's something I'm very proud of. We're here in Marianna. We've got about 2,000 students at Chipotle. We're in a rural town, 25,000 here in Marietta. You know, we grinded it out early. I mean, we really did early in my career. I mean, we built relationships. I was everywhere. We did things the right way. People, I think we gained some trust to some people. And I think if you treat people the right way, they'll help you. And I think that's what happened to us. Now we've got a beautiful facility. You know, we've got some track record there now of putting people out, them being successful, and, you know, having some guys that have, you know, I think we've had 4 guys make over $100 million plus that have played here. And, you know, so that's a good thing, too, when you can say that in the recruiting part of it. But, you know, being here 24 years, I think, you know, they're able to see we've had 18 big leaguers. Our guys, if they don't make it to professional baseball, they're doing well in collegiate level of ball and being successful down the road in whatever business or whatever else it is. But, again, the trust factor is huge. I think, you know, the players will see right through you if you're fake. They're going to see through you. Yeah. And we try to be straight up with our guys, and we try to we set a standard, and some of them don't make it. I mean, some of them have other things on their mind when they get to college versus going to class and developing their craft and their skill on the baseball field. So, you know, I am proud of what we've been able to do here in a small town, in a rural town, at a very small school.
And I'll just call some of those names: Jose Batista, Matt Gamble. I just go down this list, Coach. You got tons of them.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Well, you got Russell Martin. You got Pat Corbin, who was a Game 7 winner in the World Series this year.
That's right.
You know, they go on there for a while. Adam Duvall.
Yes. You got a list.
That's a pretty good one.
That's a real list. Andrew, you got anything?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. My first question is, what are you doing from a development standpoint now to attract players? Because obviously you're getting some very talented players. So, and these kids can go, I'm sure they have the talent to go anywhere, any JC in Florida. And but what are you and just, you know,
well, you know, you got a lot of people talking about the metric in the game now, you know, from the spin rates to the exit velocities to all that stuff. And, you know, I think, you know, as a coach who's been around a while, I'm, you know, like I said earlier, I'm getting to be a little bit of a dinosaur now. And you know, back in my days, we knew who hit it pretty hard when it came off the bat. We didn't know exactly what the exit velo was, but, you know, we knew the guy who made contact pretty often, and we knew the guy that struck out a lot of people to break them on a good spin rate. But, you know, you get a lot of that talk now, and I think kids are into that stuff a little more, and parents are maybe into it a little more versus being into the substance a little bit more. You know, I'm really big in what we do offense to our guys and our foundation stuff and our balance stuff and what we do there, and with our pitching stuff. I was a pitching guy when I first got into this thing. In college, I was a third baseman, first baseman, and I've been a pitcher late in my career, and so I've got some experience on both sides of it. But, you know, I just did the whole overall developmental piece of it. The one thing that's tough sometimes when you lose assistant coaches, and that happens in our level a lot because you're able to pay them a ton of money, and about the time you get comfortable with your assistants, of them understanding what you're trying to get taught and accomplish with that. And I think not only the physical part of it, but probably just as important, or more important, is the mental approach to what you're trying to get done too. You know, of understanding what you have to do to be successful, and teaching them the mental part of how to play the game and the things that will get you beat if you're not good at doing those fundamental things. And, you know, so I guess what I'm saying to you, the mental part and the physical part, I think is a big thing we've been really successful with, and hopefully continue to build on that.
Right.
My next question is, you know, you get a lot of talented players there. What's kind of like your pitch? Kind of like join us so we can win a championship kind of thing, or is it more, hey, I can get you to the next level. I can develop you and get you to Major League Baseball. I can develop you and get you to your next D1 spot.
Well, you know, number one, I want somebody that wants to come to Chipola. And, you know, we all get caught up in the way things look and the way things sound and tell guys that all the time. Do your research. Ask questions. Talk to folks who've been in this business a while, and they'll give you that information. But the thing I tell our guys is, we're going to give you the opportunity, the developmental piece here. There's history in that. If you look at what our guys have done over a 24-year period, there's history. It's not talk. There's history of our guys moving on with the developmental piece and being very successful. Okay. The other thing we want to do, we want you to win championships while you're here. If you win championships while you're here, you're gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna allow us to have a lot of success, and through that level of having championships, it's gonna bring in your individual accolades as well. So we try to play it that way. Hey, we want you to come and win championship, which is also going to help you be on the biggest stage where the biggest people are looking at you. And also, we're going to get you that developmental piece at the end of it, and we got some history of doing that. And I'm not a big talker. I'm not a guy that wants to show them the moon, so to speak, and get the bright lights and glitter. I'm more of a guy that's just going to be honest with them. And here's what we need to do. I tell my assistants sometimes they need to talk more about our program because I'm sometimes to a fault too honest to them.
We understand.
And they don't like sometimes they don't like that, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I have a question. So what can us, I'm talking when I say us, I mean coaches, trainers, parents do when we're working with players that's going to help them when they get to you? What are the things that you think we need to do more of or better job of, or are we doing the right things to help the kids get to where you are?
I think be honest with them. I think too many people this day and age are trying to make money on baseball, and I don't think they're being honest with the guys. And no matter what level you're at and where you're at fundamentally and everything else, you got to be honest and say, okay, here's where we're going. Here's where we want to go. Here's where things are right now. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think we got some false narrative out there sometimes now to where the kids think they're better than they are.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, I want to compete. Be a better competitor, okay? Yeah. Have a will to win, okay? Have an open mind. The fundamental pieces of it, we all got our ideas of how we do this. Teach the fundamental stuff, but don't let that overcome the competitive end of it and the will to win and the competitive, the competitive part of it. I think we're trying to program guys so much about how their swing looks or how they're and we need to do that. We need to teach the foundation part of it. We do, but we can't have parallelization by analyzation and take out that piece of I'm gonna take credit for when I don't do well, and I'm gonna compete really hard to do well.
Right.
All right, I got another one.
Okay.
So I'm sure every college coach has done this. What are some of the things that will turn you off to a player, even if he's a talented player? What are some of the things that parents, kids have done or do that make you say, I don't want him part of our program?
Well, there's a few of those. When you go to a ball game and you got a parent toting somebody's backpack out, toting their kid's backpack out, okay? That drives me batty. When you get a kid in your office and the parents ask all the questions, and some kids they're just, they don't feel comfortable in that environment. But, the kid and the player are the one that are going to have to live with their decision.
Right.
Okay, the parent might think that they're going to make the decision, but down the road, when their baseball career is over with, they're going to have to look back and say, I made a good decision, I made a bad decision. The player the parents need to advise and educate their sons and daughters about what's going on, but they need to let the kid make the decision. Give him the information and let him make the decision. Don't make a decision just because, as a parent, I want my kid to go here where all the parents going to talk about, okay, oh, little Johnny went to so-and-so school because it was so-and-so league or whatever it was.
Right.
Get the right fit there. I get caught up some now. Like I said, I'm getting a little older, and you hear people want to know, do y'all use the Rapsodo? Do you do the spin rate? Do you do this, that, and the other? And, sometimes to me, a lot of that's just, my dad used to call say it's sad for your conscience. Sometimes they want something they can blame things on. And, I'm a guy that I'm about substance. I'm about guys that want to work, that are determined, that have a good heart, and I think that's the things that we want to see more or less than anything. I don't like a lot of fake people, and I guess that's and I'm a pretty good people person too. So most of the time, when those guys come in my office and the family comes in my office, you can tell pretty quick what you got.
Right. Let me ask, I think this would be the last question. I'll let you go after this, Coach. You've been doing this for a number of years now. Let me ask a question: have the kids changed, or have the parents changed? That's one of the things that I wanted to hear from what you see day in and day out. Or is it a mixture of both?
Well, I think it's a little mixture of both. I think it's a lack of parenting a lot. I think the parents to a lot of times, but I'm a parent too. My daughter's 22 years old, and I understand parenting's tough. It's a tough thing because you got to tell them the truth, and something you love that simple. You love that kid that you have, and you don't want to see them hurt. You want to see them smile all the time. And parenting, sometimes you have to tell them uncomfortable things and tell them they did wrong, and everything isn't going to be good if you continue this way. So I do think a lot of it is from parenting. I think our society has accepted you see some guys getting run out of the high school level who are longtime coaches who have done an extremely good job of developing young men, and we got to be careful today what you say and what you do. It's a different world. We all know that too. But I think most of the time, your coaches and especially your successful coaches, you've got to be tough. The more you let most people buy with, the further they'll test you and all that. And I think you have to be strong. You have to be, again, they got to trust, and they got to also know that you care about them as a person, not only as a player, but as a person. I think if they'll understand that as a coach and as a parent, okay, I think that's the thing to be, that'll help everybody at the house. But I think we need to be honest with our kids. We don't need to paint a rosy picture all the time. We need to be honest with them, and I think that'll help all of us when we do that.
Right. Well, Coach, any last words? Anything you want to tell the audience? Tell them, parents, whoever you want to tell them to. You got the floor. Whatever you want to say.
No, just during this time, like we said earlier, man, we're in uncharted waters. Everybody be safe. Heed the warnings of what we're trying to do. Nobody knows where this thing's going. Hopefully, we're getting close to the end. And baseball's a special game. I love sports. I was a three-sport guy in high school. Play other sports if you can, and hopefully everything works out here pretty soon for everybody.
Yes, sir, Coach. We really appreciate you. You be safe out there. Make sure you and the family stay safe. I know you said you had a 22-year-old daughter. I have a 21-year-old daughter. So believe me, matter of fact, she just came through while we were doing the podcast. So, but yeah, Coach, you be safe out there. We look forward to seeing you, especially when you come back up here and play at Faulkner. And I'm hoping that surely happens and this pandemic is over so we can get back to baseball.
Sounds good, my man. Y'all take care.
Right,
Thanks for having me on, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That was Coach Jeff Johnson, head coach at Chipola College down in Marianna, Florida, sir. A lot of great information that he brought forth today. I asked a lot of questions because I wanted, on the collegiate side of things, I wanted to make sure we was able to give parents and those listening, access to information. And he gave some great information, fellas.
Yeah, it was good. Hope the kids were listening.
That's That's always the question. As my grandfather would say, sometimes
the kids out there who's, I mean, all the kids, but especially the kids who have pro aspirations, junior college is not a bad way to go.
Correct.
In a lot of cases, it's the better way to go.
Right. I agree.
Because if you have that talent, most of the time you're going to play when you get to junior college right away.
Right.
And then you transfer to your 4-year school or whatever, you get drafted or whatever. But
yeah, right. What I was saying is right before that is as my grandfather used to say, dealing with kids and hearing and understanding. You got good hearing, but poor understanding. That's the issue sometimes. You heard what was said. I call it selective ignorance. You heard what was said, but you make a conscious decision not to listen to it. And then you're upset when it comes back to bite you in the behind when you had ample time to hear it and understand it and take heed on it and don't do it. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why I asked Coach Johnson to address parents. I asked Coach Johnson to address the kids. So you can hear it from a college coach's mouth that all the things that we have been saying all this time doesn't just fall on deaf ears, and you're upset when you get to college and it's not, things aren't going the way that you expected them to go. So,
true.
So again,
seems like a never-ending battle.
Seems like never-ending battle. Andrew, what you got on that?
It was some good stuff from a very accomplished coach who has a history of running some good players through his program, and it's interesting to see to hear some of the things that he talked about as far as development and how he gets players in, and basically saying like he wants players that want to go there. So I think that's an important piece to it. He's getting kids that actually buy into what he's put out over the years, and he's getting the kids that actually want to go there.
Yeah. So. And he's had some great again. Jose Batista, Russell Martin, Pat Corbin, Matt Gamble, Tyler Flowers, Steve Clevenger, Adam Lowen, Brian Ellington, Andrew Toles, Darren Ford, Barrett Browning. I'm just going down the list, and the list goes on and on. And he started naming people off that wasn't even on the list yet. So, Game 6 pitcher for Houston. It's just talent, man. And then, I talked about Drew Baker, one of those kids. We always knew the kid had talent. I mean, he always stayed behind the plate. When I coached him as an assistant at Macon East, he was always behind the plate. He would come in every now and then to maybe close the game out, but the kid's arm, he's absolutely right. That quick action arm. He saw him down there, took him out of the catcher spot, told him, hey, I signed you as a pitcher. And now the kid's, at Auburn. 96, 97. Gas. With a hook.
Yeah, I should have asked him, though, but so he went from 91 to 96. Did that happen naturally? Did he put him on some type of program?
Hey, when I talked to Drew.
Or was that your work?
Drew, I think Drew put on some weight, right? Which did a little bit for him. Drew grew another inch or two, which did something for him. And I think he went through a mechanical aspect of with the program with Coach Johnson and his team, his staff, that also did a lot of work to that. The thing about it, Drew's a confident kid. He was just confident in general. I mean, I'm the man. That's his. I am the man. There is no. I'm not cocky where you can't stand me. I'm just confident in myself enough that I'm not worried about getting beat. I know I can throw hard, but even though I can throw hard, I can throw this hook on you too. That was just the type player he is. So It'd be interesting to see him this year, and he obviously gets another year at Auburn.
He's a junior, right?
No, he left out after his. He was a qualifier, so he left out.
So he left out his first year.
He left out his first season there. Yeah. So, for guys like him, he was. I forget what draft pick he was, but he was high. I know he turned down a lot of money. Put it like that.
Wow.
To go to Auburn. So just saying, he has that potential to continue to grow. He's gonna get bigger. He's gonna get stronger. He's gonna put a little more weight on that's gonna fit his frame. And who knows? Kid may be sitting 105 before we know it. I don't. You never can tell. With a hook. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So, well,
it's good stuff.
Yeah, real good stuff. That was a good show. Well, I can't see what my writing is, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Coach Hunter Vick, who is in that conference, by the way. He plays in that conference with them. And we'll get an opportunity to hear from him out of Chat Valley. And see what he has going on and see what his thoughts are. I can ask him some of the same exact questions. He was the volley at Auburn. And he took the job at Chat there. So he's doing a great job with his program. And then on Friday, again, we bring on my head coach, Happy Macon, who was also he's not a head coach at Texas College. He was an assistant coach at Savannah State, and prior to that, he spent several years as an assistant coach at Alabama State. So he'll come on Friday in the NAIA program out in Tyler, Texas. So he'll be on Friday to discuss all of this same thing from his angle and what he'll be saying. So we put together a pretty good little list of coaches, and we're moving to next week with even some players coming on and getting them to tell their side of the story and allow guys. Matter of fact, we'll bring some college guys on and let them tell their side of the story. I think giving parents and players a 360-degree view is a good thing, and it allows them to be more informed and make better decisions. So that's kind of our take on it. Last words, guys.
Good show once again. Parents and kids out there, junior college is not a bad way to go.
Not a bad way to go at all.
Yep, that was accurate, Carl. Good show, and yeah, junior college is not a bad option for some kids.
Yeah.
Maturity, place to get mature, physically and mentally. And if you really want to go and play baseball, that might be your best option to go and better your game.
Yeah.
At the KC level, everybody has the D1 aspirations, but sometimes it's not for you.
That's true. Whole lot Happy Macon. I see you there, sir. Great show, guys. We look forward to tomorrow. Like I say, Hunter Vick comes on tomorrow with us, and then Happy Macon will close out the week. He'll be the closer, and that's pretty much it for tonight, fellas. We'd like to thank Coach Jeff Johnson for coming on, head coach at Chipola College, 3-time NJCAA champion, national JUCO champion, 3 times, and 3-time coach of the year. It was great to have Coach Jeff on, and great show again, guys. Great information. Really appreciate you guys, and when y'all see me look this way, I'm actually looking at y'all, even though the camera is right here. So you figured that out already. Okay, so somebody asked me that the other day. I was like, "Why you be looking to the left instead of straight ahead?" Because the guys, I can see them right here. They're not straight ahead. So anyway, guys, have a great night. We play baseball. That's a wrap. Love you.
All right.
Later.
Peace out.